Welcome to Healthcare Huddle, the podcast dedicated to interprofessional collaboration in sports medicine. I'm Katie, and today we're joined by a mental performance coach to discuss her perspective, experiences, and what collaboration looks like in real practice. Let's get started. We have a new person to add to our huddle, Georgia. She's a mental performance coach, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about what that is, difference between sports psychologist and a mental performance coach, and kind of how did you get into this role?
Yes. So, first of all, thank you for having me on, Katie. Very excited to be a part of the new little huddle we have going. So, I played college volleyball and I always thought I wanted to be a coach. I knew I definitely wanted to do something in the athletics realm. And I took a class in high school and it was a psychology course and they had mentioned sports psych. And I was like, what is that? That's exactly what I need to do. And so ever since that class in high school, I was just on a one track mind to the sports psychology field. And you had mentioned what the difference is between what a sports psychologist does versus me. So you're exactly right. My title is mental performance coach. And I have my master's in athletic counseling and my CMPC. So what that means is I'm trained to spot all the signs of clinical disorders with an athlete. So if an athlete comes to me and let's say they have an eating disorder or depression, I'm trained to spot those signs, but I am not trained to continue working with them. So I have to refer them out to a professional where that is in their expertise. A sports psychologist with their PhD, they can continue treating and working with those athletes that have more of those clinical disorders that they need help with.
Perfect. Thanks for clarifying. And
Yeah.
then is that something that you would continue on to do, or is mental performance coach like your thing, your passion?
I love running my private practice and I love solely just focusing on the performance enhancement piece. So
Mhm.
I'm really working with athletes on building confidence, letting go of mistakes, managing pressure and perfectionism, overcoming social approval problems because athletes care way too much about what other people think of them,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
performance anxiety, maybe overcoming an injury or working with a difficult coach. So I'm helping athletes navigate all of those very common challenges and adversities that we see every single day in sports. And I absolutely love that. So I can see myself just sticking with what I have.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I hated asking that because people ask, athletic trainers so much, like, "Where do you wanna go from here?" And sometimes you don't.
Right.
Like, I love being an athletic trainer, like, this is what I worked for, so
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
feel like
right.
you get that. Yeah.
And I love reading research and I respect
Mhm.
the research. We need it, but I hate conducting it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, getting a PhD would just be like a 5-year struggle for me.
Yes, yeah, I feel the same way. I'm
Mhm.
just so uninterested in more school.
Yeah, right. Yeah, like let's get in the field, let's get in the applied work. So yeah, we're definitely on the same page there.
When you think about effective interpersonal collaboration, what does that mean to you? And do you have any examples of or interprofessional collaboration? Do you have any examples that you think were like a cool opportunity that you've experienced?
Yeah, so I see collaboration a lot in my field, and it's really important too.
Mhm,
And I think it's just about really keeping the athlete first, right? So if let's say the athlete in a university setting, we'll use for example, they have ATs, you, strength
mhm.
conditioning, nutritionists, head coaches, assistant coaches, maybe mental performance coaches. It's getting more into the university setting now. They have all these pieces of the puzzle. PTs, I mean, we can probably go on and on, dietitians.
Yeah.
As long as we're keeping the athlete first, right? Maybe if the athlete has a go-to person to really connect and talk with, maybe that's not me, maybe that's you, Katie. They see you on
Mhm.
the AT table all the time, and so
Yeah.
you're hearing a lot of their rants and their thoughts, right? As long as they have a go-to person that they can connect with, maybe that's you, maybe that's their strength coach, their assistant coach, whoever it might be, amazing, right? But
Mhm.
you're going to see things that maybe I don't see, and I'm going to see things that you don't see. So that's why it's really
Yeah.
important that we are all in communication to best help the athlete. And you asked me
Yeah.
for an example. I do have a really cool one. So I
Yeah.
was working with a golfer one time, and we were working on a lot of his composure. He was having such a hard time at letting go of mistakes, and he would blow up on the course, just get super mad at himself. And if you ever play golf, I mean, it's a very frustrating sport.
I've tried.
And yes, right, I try it as well. Yeah, not very successful at it. And so he was scoring great in his practice rounds, and just his day-to-day practices, but come tournament time, he would just completely blow up. His scores would not be anywhere near what he was shooting in practice. And so I got the opportunity to go to one of his practices and just observe and watch. And I met his coach, which was great. I love meeting the coaches. So I was just observing, and I noticed every time my golfer would make a mistake or hit a shot, he would immediately look over to his coach, and his coach would give him feedback.
Oh,
And this coach was
okay.
young guy. He was super passionate, right? Just really wanted to
Yeah, meant
help.
the best. Yeah.
Right, the best. Yeah. But the problem is in golf tournaments, you don't have your coach there, right?
Oh, okay.
Every time this golfer would hit a shot and look at his coach, he would get feedback. But in a tournament, that's not the case in the slightest. So this golfer had no idea how to work through a bad shot on his own. He didn't have his coach
Oh,
in his ear telling him what to do, right? So
yeah.
when I pointed this out to coach and kind of explained what might be happening in a tournament, he was like, "Oh my gosh, you're so right. Let's do an experiment." And the athlete was roped into this. We said, "I don't think you know how to handle a bad shot, and we need you to work on this. So no more looking over at coach because he's not going to be there in a tournament setting. We need
Mhm.
to replicate more of a tournament setting for you." And so that's just such a great example of how I can come in and really communicate with coach to help the athlete. So
Yeah.
I'm working with a lot of their coaches too and just picking their brains because the coach is really seeing them on a day-to-day basis. So it's really helpful for me to see their opinions.
Yeah. I love that they're kind of having you included in it as well. Like
Yeah.
that they listen to you. Those are good
Right.
coaches.
Well, not all the case by any means, right?
No, 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 but that one is a good one.
Yes.
I think a
Yeah.
lot of coaches don't understand, like, the professionals want to help too. Like, I want this kid to play at his best too. You want that kid to play at his best. And the good coaches, they get that.
Yes, absolutely. And I totally understand the coaches that are really worried about bringing in a sports psych professional to their teams because
Mhm.
you really need to trust that person with your team, right? And
Yeah.
I was a coach too. I coach a little bit of college and club, and I get it. Like, I want to bring some random person in who I didn't really trust and know. So it's really
Yeah.
important that, like you and I, Katie, right, when we're working with the team, we have to build rapport with the coaches. And even just
Mhm.
starting off with a simple convo like, "Hey, how are you? How's it going?"
Yeah.
But
Yes.
that trust is what's most important.
Yes. I think rapport is everything when you
It
work
really
in
is.
sports.
Yes.
We kinda talked about that too, but who do you collaborate on a day-to-day basis with? Is that kinda look different for every athlete?
Yeah, it does. I definitely think the coaches are a good one. I'm not collaborating with all of my athletes' coaches, but definitely a few of them. And then I would say a
Mhm.
big one too are their parents. I have a lot of athletes who are under the age of 18.
Mhm.
So it's important that the parents are on the same page as well. So if we're working on um, their perfectionism or them letting go of mistakes, and we're working on like a post game routine and evaluating themselves from an objective perspective, but then they get in the
Mhm.
car and their parent is just roasting them on every single mistake they made, that's
Yeah.
completely hindering all progress that I'm trying to make with them, right? So it's really
Yes.
important that the parents are somewhat included in what we're working on. And obviously, like I always ask for athletes' permission if they're okay with that, if the parents are knowing just the major themes of what we're discussing, not every detail.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm working with a lot of parents, and in private practice, you're going to see a lot of NPCs, mental performance coaches, say the same thing.
Mhm. Yeah. I think, when I started really including parents, like, in the healthcare plan, kind of showing them what we're doing in our athletic training room and getting that buy-in from parents changes so much, even for the athlete.
Yeah.
Started seeing better outcomes. They actually showed up to rehab. Now I have parents who drop them off at practice even if they're hurt because they know, like, they're gonna come hang out with me. So, you're
Yeah.
right. I forget about parents, but you're right. It is so important.
Yeah, and they're seeing their athlete the most, right? So if they're
Mhm.
only hearing these concepts on our 1 hour call a week, it's not enough. So like if the
Yeah.
parent is constantly using the same language and just giving those subtle reminders, if the coaches are using similar language as I am and vice versa, then they're constantly hearing it, right? And that's just so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. What do you think the biggest challenge you've faced when working with a parent, a coach, or a colleague has been for you?
Yeah, I just think the not really understanding and not being fully bought in, which can
Mhm.
be really hard. If a coach is really against sports psychology because there is still a lot of stigma, and I get it. If an
Mhm.
athlete comes to me, it doesn't necessarily mean they have a problem or a challenge. Sometimes I get a lot of athletes just wanting to better themselves and work on enhancing their strengths, and
Yeah.
just giving themselves an extra leg up. And for you, athletes might come in just to do some preventative work and
Mhm.
maintenance work, right? You don't always get
Yeah.
athletes who have a problem necessarily. So do you think just working with the coaches that are super against it,
Mhm.
even just the parents who aren't bought in, or maybe they're half the problem, but they aren't really open to hearing your feedback,
Yeah.
those can be hard situations, and at that point, you just have to really keep the focus on the athlete and say, "This is your situation. How are you gonna handle it? How are we gonna navigate it, though? Because it doesn't sound like those people in your life are necessarily changing.
Mhm.
So what are you gonna do about it?" And just helping them take the control back into their hands.
Yeah. Yeah. What's one thing that you wish more people understood about your role?
Yeah, I think that my role, and it was good that we clarified difference between like sports psychologist and mental performance coach. I'm just
Mhm.
another little slice of the pie. I am
Mhm.
I am a coach, just like your assistant coach, your head coach, but I am just a coach for their thoughts. We're just
Oh,
training
yeah.
training their neck up, right? You could have all the physical talent in the world, but if your mind isn't right, if you're thinking about all the wrong things you're doing or worrying about making a mistake, if you're telling yourself that you suck or worrying, mind reading your coach, there's no way that physical talent is going to shine through. So I think that's just something that I wish everybody would know, that I'm just
Mhm.
another little tool, another resource, and just a coach for their thoughts and using their thoughts for them, not against them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then what advice do you think you would give to younger people who are stepping into this role maybe for the first time or new to the sports medicine, sports mental health world?
Yeah. So I teach a class at Springfield College, and I'm teaching just young sports psychology professionals and then sports psych field and athletic counseling. And
Mhm.
something I tell them a lot is the research and the learning, it never stops. I used to think that I would get to a point where like, oh my gosh, I'm master everything and no more learning. It's not the case in the slightest. You
Yeah.
are constantly going to be learning new things.
Mhm.
I say listen to podcasts just when you're getting ready in the morning. Read that random research article. Have conversations like you and I are having, Katie.
Yeah.
But don't stop learning. Don't stop just reaching out to people too, because humanity is good. They do want to help for the most part.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So reach out as well.
Yeah. No, I feel that we actually kinda touched on this on my last interview.
Mhm.
But it was about how the medicine or, like, what we know about medicine kinda changes almost every 2 years, you know?
Mm.
Like,
Yeah.
things change, so if you are not almost on the cutting edge, like, attempting to continue to learn more, like, you just get left behind pretty quick. So I
Mhm.
agree. I think learning everything, talking to everybody, and even like you said, like when we communicate, when we collaborate, I'm learning things from you that I can now implement to my athletes, like athletes who maybe don't have the resources or anything like that. So I
Yeah.
agree. I think we're all one big team, like a big mixing pot.
Yes, absolutely. And then I think just another piece of advice going off of that is we've already slightly talked about it too, but make
Mhm.
sure that you walk in to any like team with a very humble attitude and a very curious one. And
Yes.
you aren't acting like you know it all. That's the number one thing that will get you kicked out the door, but you're literally just
Yes.
building rapport, right? Getting
Mhm.
coach, what their philosophy is, just observing, literally like the
Yeah.
first few months before you really give any sort of input. So build rapport, build the trust up, go visit coach's office and just ask them how their weekend was. Little
Mhm.
things like that go a very long.
Yes, it kind of opens their mind up to you, I think. And if you come in like it's my way or the highway,
Oh no,
he reacts well to that.
no, nobody has. Yeah.
So one of the major reasons that I saw you on Instagram, I follow you on Instagram, is because you have integrated your work with your faith as well.
Mhm.
And I think that's super cool. How did you kind of do that? How did you start that? Or was it just always a part of who you were?
Yeah, I felt just very convicted to do that especially when I started my own practice, because we say all the time we're helping athletes holistically, But how
Mhm.
can we say that we're getting you to your peak performance when the spiritual piece is missing? You know, we always say like
Yeah.
spirit, mind, and body. You're working on their body, strength conditioning, work on their body, coach is working on their skills, I'm working on their mind, but like what about the spirit aspect? And
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
noticed a big difference in my athletes who had a strong religious foundation and my athletes who did not.
Mm,
And I think I was just doing a disservice by leaving that out.
yeah.
I never force it on anybody. If they don't wanna talk about it, great, okay, well, not even mention it. But I
Mhm.
have been getting a lot of Christian athletes who wanna tie it into, our work together, and it's been very cool. You know, I think if you're more trusting of God, you aren't going to be as worried, you aren't going to get so lost in the outcomes. You're gonna be more
Yes.
patient and trusting. So I have really enjoyed just being creative and tying that part in. It's been fun.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I it's one of the major reasons that I started my athletic training Bible study thing is I've definitely in the past been one of those people who thought, like, the Bible isn't relevant to everything. It's, that which was so wrong. Definitely wrong of me to think because I mean, if you can make it relevant to sports and I can make it relevant to athletic training, then, like, it's pretty relevant to everybody.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just all the
Yeah.
parables, examples, and it's
Yes.
literally any great leadership book is just a spin-off of the Bible. Any
Yes.
answer you
Yes,
need,
you're so
I
right.
guarantee it's in there.
Yes, exactly, and I once I kinda started reading into it more, and then I saw people like you who were, you know, bringing it to where they were, I thought, "Who's doing this for athletic training? I
Love
guess I
it.
can do it.
Yes.
Why not? Why not
Support,
try?"
Katie. Lead the way there.
And then I just kind of wanna ask, like, fun questions because I also think we need like, as healthcare people, we need to be more, like, humanized to
Yeah,
other people, if that makes sense.
totally.
So there's just gonna be kind of fun questions.
Great, I love it.
Okay. If you had to choose one, coffee or caffeine?
Caffeine, I'm not a big coffee person. I love tea, though.
Okay,
Yeah,
I love that. Do you have a favorite tea?
matcha tea.
Ooh, I love a matcha. I know everybody says it tastes like dirt, but, like, I just love it. I
I
can't explain
know,
it. I
it
feel
definitely
healthy.
acquired taste. Yeah. I'm a matcha gal.
Do you have a favorite tool that you use in your kind of practice?
That's a good one. Yeah, I think it's so dependent on the athlete. For my golfers, or I use it for a lot for my baseball pitchers and my tennis players too. I call it like a little reset card. So if they're ever in their heads getting frustrated, getting emotional, they have this little card that they can whip out that has a bunch of good, tangible, rational advice on it to ground
Mhm.
themselves back down. Because when we're emotional, especially as women, it's like, what the heck am I supposed to be thinking right now? Right. So it's
Yeah.
good to have something tangible to look at, like, okay, got it, grounded, and just stick it in your back pocket, and then you're good to go. So I love that. If the athletes like really resonate with that, that's a great one.
Well, yeah, I love that. Do you have so athletes who are kinda superstitious, that kinda stuff, do you ever notice, I don't know, I feel like that would be something you would see a lot. Is that
Mhm.
something that you think holds them back? Do you think that it's helpful, like a good superstition or a ritual?
Yeah, big difference between routines and superstitions. Routines are
Mhm.
like grounded in science. We know those work. Superstitions, I go back and forth on. That is a very fun conversation that I have with my athletes. They're a bunch of
Yeah.
weirdos and do weird things.
They do, yeah.
Yes, right? So part of me is if that superstitions, if it's in your control of tying your right shoelace before your left shoelace, if that makes you feel good, makes you feel more confident, why the heck
Mhm.
not? Do it. But we also need to be very rational that if you forgot to tie your right shoe before your left shoe, it's not gonna impact your skills or your abilities that day.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah, so I like to make sure they have the rationale behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you help them work through stuff like that? Because the superstitions are starting to get outrageous at my school for sure.
Oh, really? Yeah, I'd be a lot of just challenging them on it, right? Like,
Mhm.
if you didn't do that, what's gonna change? What's gonna happen? Are your skills
Mhm.
actually rooted in that one thing?
Yeah.
And I'm sure they have previous examples of when they didn't do it, and
Yes.
they
Yeah.
they played great, or and vice versa when they did it and they played awful. So
Yeah.
it's just
Yes.
like bringing that to light and really just challenging their thoughts on it. Because sometimes, like, when we're up in our brains and we're only hearing our own voice, things make
Mhm.
sense up there, but as soon as we say it out loud, it's like, "Oh, yeah, that is kinda stupid."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. I like that you said you can do the ones that are in your control because I have had some athletes who, if I don't tape them exactly an hour before game time, they kind of panic or 10 minutes or whatever. And it's like, I could be taking care of another athlete. I could be trying to set up, like,
Yeah. No, it
I
can't
can't
be
be the one
taking
who's the control
somebody
for you
else
right now.
in the
Yeah.
slightest. Yeah. No, show up on this podcast. Yeah.
Yes, I will. This one is gonna be the last kind of fun one, but if you could have anything on if there was one thing on Amazon that you couldn't live without or that you think athletes couldn't live without that you would recommend to anybody, what would it be?
A silly one is my face lotion. I can't live without it. For athletes, gosh, I don't even know what they're, like, ordering nowadays.
I know.
Their dorm room and everything.
Yeah,
I don't have a good answer for that one.
okay, that's okay. I didn't know if there's any, like, cool mental health tools on Amazon.
No, I do order, like, a lot of books. I just ordered
Mhm.
a couple, it's on my bookshelf right there. So I use it just for a lot of good, like, research books and sports psych books,
Okay.
but yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay. That was good.
I'll think about it.
Yeah, just let me know. So I'm gonna go back to the closing questions that I
Mhm.
forgot about. What is one thing you think would improve interprofessional collaboration in sports medicine just overall?
Yeah, I know. I think it's very siloed right now. Like we have this department, this department, this department. I
Mhm.
think just something as simple as a monthly meeting with
Mhm.
everybody. I know some departments have weekly meetings or biweekly meetings, but something is just a monthly meeting where we can all sit around a conference table or get some coffee and just discuss what we're doing with our athletes, and
Yeah.
offering different perspectives. And it doesn't have to be long. It could be an hour, it could be half an hour, but just having something set in stone in everyone's schedule, like this is the day and time that we're meeting once a month. I think that would help tremendously just with the collaboration.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Mine was, I think if everybody kind of put their pride away just a touch.
Yeah. Right?
Because I
Like,
think in my experience, that's what gets in the way is like, "Oh, the athletic trainer is telling me that this is what is wrong." Or I'll be like, "That doctor doesn't know him as well as I do." I think I think for me, it's like a pride issue, but I do agree with that too, and I think that would help with the pride kind of a thing when you
oh,
gain
yeah,
the rapport
right?
like we talked about before. Yeah.
Yes. No, I
Yeah.
completely agree with you. Like it's you're making it about you at that point, right? Like keep it about
Mhm.
the athlete. If the athlete connects better with Katie and not Georgia, then great. That's awesome. You can't
Yeah.
connect with everybody the same.
That's true, yeah. You're
Yeah.
right. Okay, and then if you could give one takeaway to listeners from today's conversation, what do you think it would be? What's one thing you want people to really hang on to?
My one piece of advice or takeaway is knowing that you are just one slice of the pie. It's not about
Mm,
you, it's about the athlete. I think that just really summarizes what you and I were just talking about. I think
yeah,
a lot of my students, I've had to give them some reality checks because they're like, oh well, I think I just helped this person so much, or well, I think this and I'm gonna go up and tell coach what I'm like, absolutely not. You
yeah,
you are just another resource, another tool. It's not about you, it is about the athlete. So
mhm.
take that and run with it.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think that's a great point for this. And then where can people find you online? Or
Yes.
even, even if where's your business at
Yeah.
if they needed your help?
I work with all athletes virtual. So I
Oh,
have a couple
perfect.
in person. I'm down in Miami, Florida, but most of my work is virtual. I have athletes all over the country and world. Website is rootedsportspsychcoach.com and my email is georgia@rootedsportspsychcoach.com. And then I'm on Instagram and TikTok. If you just search rooted sports psychology coaching, I'm sure I will pop right up.
Perfect. Okay, and then is there anything you wanted to add? Any points that I kinda missed that you wanted to touch on?
No, I love what
Okay,
you're doing, Katie. Thank you for bringing all of
thank
us
you.
together with this. This is really great.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm super excited about it, thank you. Thank you so much for huddling up with us today. If you liked this episode, please like, subscribe, send it to a colleague. If you work in the sports medicine team in any capacity, I want to talk to you. You can reach out to me through my TikTok, through my Instagram, Katie the ATC, no caps, no spaces. Would love to hear from you. Bye.